Hi everyone, Milad Reza here from Anchor Wealth. In today's video, we're going to focus on you're at a point where your super funds hit a solid amount of funds and you're thinking, what do I need to do? How can I get it to the next level? What are my options? What should I be focusing on? And you're sick and tired of what you see on TV, compare the pair crap. You're sick and tired of, just moving super funds and gaining no outcome. And you're basically sick and tired of opening up your statements every year. You're seeing a pretty stagnant, or you're seeing a super fund that's gone backwards, even though you've made a switch, and at the end of the day, you've ended up in the same world. What you can look at, and one of the real important areas with your super is the way it's invested. And you need to have good investment options available. Most super funds do a pretty crappy job of that. They give you 10 to 20 options and off you go. Well, it's high level, number one. Number two, you don't know what you actually invested in. Number three, it's just not enough options and it's pretty hidden and you can't really see what's going on under the bonnet. First things you need to understand is my super fund focused on income, or is my super fund focused on growth? Now, some people love growth, some people love income, but you need to understand the difference. And what's important is income is focusing on something that is potentially more cemented, because when you're investing in shares, or when you're investing in assets that produce you something, you can rely on a certain amount of income to come through. And now let's give you an example. When you invest in a business like Commonwealth Bank or an ANZ, you're just not relying on the share price going up. What you're also relying on are dividends. Dividends are the income payments that are coming through to your basically super fund in terms of reward for you investing in those businesses. Now, there's investors out there that basically their whole philosophy is income. Warren Buffett being one of them. He's got about 8 to 10 different shares in his portfolio. Now, billions of dollars we're talking here, but he's just relying on dividends. Now, if the value of those shares go up, happy days for him, but he's not relying on that. He loves the idea of an asset producing him something. So the other side of it is to just hope that the next person is going to pay you more for what you've invested in. And that's the case for cryptocurrency, gold, or any assets that basically don't produce you anything. So it's quite important to understand what your super fund's doing, whether it's just focusing on growth, so just hoping for those assets that you invested in to just go up in value, or is it actually relying on a more of a cemented outcome when it comes to income? Another way to really break this down, because this is not really explained. I mean, when you're thinking about shares, most of the time what you just see is on TV at 6 o'clock, the stock market crapped itself and everyone just loses their mind. But it's not the case. I mean, long-term investors understand that it's going to be ups and downs in the market, but they're relying to a certain point on those income payments, understanding those businesses like a BHP or a Rio Tinto or a Commonwealth Bank or an ANZ. Just as an example, these businesses are out there and they're generating profits, and what they do to reward the investors, they share some of those profits with the investors in the way of dividends, income payments. So it's important to understand that and not just think about shares as this up and down thing that over the long term you don't know what you're going to get. Well, no, when you buy a bit of business, what you are being rewarded with, depending on which business you've invested in or company, is dividend payments. So it's important to understand that and understand, well, when you're looking at the investments inside your super fund, what's the story there? Are you invested on income producing fund managers or more growth focused fund managers? And when you get access to something like a wrap super fund, which is the structure of the fund and that gives you access to fund managers, you have a big world. You have opened up a completely different world of access to different investment options. Then you can go, well, I like the idea of these income focused fund managers, or I like the idea of these more growth-based tech companies, for an example. You get a completely different world where you have over 600 investment options, which is pretty amazing. And say compared to a regular industry super fund where you get 10 to 20 different options and it's pretty high level. And the other thing is that with a wrap super fund, all those income payments are directly paid to your centralized cash account. So it's quite impressive. And I've got another video if you want to have a look at how a wrap super fund works. That's number one, understanding income versus growth. It's quite important to be all over that. Number two is just really important for these people that are approaching their retirement age and they're getting to a point where they want to take money out. Sequential risk is quite a big problem for Australians that retire. And what am I referring to? Well, when you hit say age 65 and you want to draw down 60 or 70,000 from super in a regular master trust, the only way you can do that is to take money out by selling off units. And units is what your super fund actually owns. So if you got a super fund worth $500,000 and each unit is worth 100, well, how many units do you actually have? You've got about 500 units, and that's how you end up with 500,000. If you're drawing down 70,000 at $1,000 a unit, then you got to sell off 70. But if the market dips and they're worth 500, then you got to sell 140 because he's selling twice as much, because each unit is worth half of what it used to be before the market went down. To get around this, there is structures available. Again, we're talking about structure. We're not talking about industry, super fund, retail fund. All that stuff is irrelevant. We are talking about the structure that allows you to then manage sequential risk, having enough as a buffer to take money out of your cash account, your centralized cash account, to take money out and not having to sell off the farm if the markets are down. So really important understanding sequential risk, because if this is not there while you're approaching retirement, and if you have to take money out and the only way you can take money out is by selling units, then you're exposing yourself to a world of pain down the line, because inevitably bad events are going to be happening. So trying to get around, I want to avoid bad events, means that your funds are sitting in cash, potentially invested in cash. And the cemented risk of that is the fact that, it's barely keeping up with the price increase of milk, let alone preserving your super fund. So be all over this. Sequential risk is quite important to also note. So another way that, we got some people that are pretty risk averse, but the reason why they're risk averse is because they just don't like shares. They don't like the sound of shares, but they like the idea of getting a bit of growth to their income. Otherwise, they understand that, the markets are not designed for you to be investing in cash and hoping that your super fund's going to do well in the long term. Because investing in cash, especially when the cash rate is quite low, you're not going to get much coming your way in terms of a return. And again, you're barely keeping up with inflation, which is a price increase of goods and services, let alone actually doing something with your super. It's just doing nothing. It's going backwards more than anything. But they just hate the idea of shares. So what's available to those type of investors is potentially asset classes like property. And inside super, the misconception is, if I want to have access to property market and be able to invest in property, then I need to start a self-managed super fund. It's not the case. You can get access to REITs or unlisted property fund managers in a wrap super fund, even certain regular super funds. But if you want a bit more choice, a wrap super fund gives you hundreds of different options when it comes to fund managers that go out there and invest in property. And as an example, what REITs are is basically you invest in a company that goes out there and invests in commercial property, but you're still buying shares in those businesses, but it's based on property. Now, if you don't want shares, if you have no interest in that, then unlisted property is the other option, where it's valued once a year. It's not listed on the ASX, so it's not investing in shares. It's unlisted, as the name goes. And then what you're getting access to is a trust out there that, there's a fund manager looking after everything. And in that portfolio, there's, say, 10 to 12 different commercial properties that they've invested in. You've got a pool of investors that bring their money together and invest in that trust, basically. And you're one of the beneficiaries of that trust, and you receive rental income and you get the benefits of capital growth over the long term of that property portfolio. The good news is that you don't have to worry about any maintenance. You don't have to worry about how the portfolio is doing. You don't have to worry about where to invest. You don't have to worry about tenants. All that's taken care of by the property fund manager. So if you're thinking, I really want to invest my super fund in a different manner, I'm over the share market, well, unlisted property is a great option. And there are certain wrap super funds, not all of them, that offer a really wide range of unlisted property fund managers. And the good news is that they've got 10, 20 years of track record. So you can actually see what's been done, what sort of track record they've had, what sort of rental yield is coming your way, all that is out there. So it's pretty impressive in the fact that you don't have to worry about a big financial outlay like a deposit for the purchasing of the property. You don't have to worry about whether you're going to be approved by the loan provider. You don't have to be worried about whether you can meet the repayments, if there's enough contributions in your super fund. You don't have to worry about going out there and starting a bear trust, which is what a self-managed super fund exposes you to if you want to invest in resi. So you do get rid of a lot of the headaches and the burden that comes with a self-managed super fund when you want to invest in property by just going out there and investing in an unlisted property fund in your wrap super account. Again, when I'm talking about wrap super, this is not a provider, this is a structure of super. And in Australia, you've got 3 different structures. You've got the master trust, which is where everyone pretty much sits. If you haven't got advice, if you haven't started an SMSF, you sit in a master trust and basically your regular super structure. Your provider sits in that structure. The middle structure is a wrap super fund, and again, there's hundreds of different providers out there. Probably about 5 to 10 do it really well. And then right at the end, the third structure is a self-managed super fund, which is completely different. And the way it works is that it's a do-it-yourself super fund. You no longer have a product provider at the top looking after everything for you. And if you've got the inclination, and if you think you can outdo fund managers, then you potentially sit in a self-managed super fund. If you want resi, or if you want commercial property that say you're running your business through and you want to purchase it through your self-managed super fund, well then a self-managed super fund is the only option you have to do that. But if you just wanted to invest your super fund and get more control, and you're thinking, well, I want to do an SMSF because I think that I can outdo fund managers, then for those people, I usually say, well, you're better off quitting your job, because fund managers get paid pretty well. And if you think that you can outdo fund managers, you're wasting your time with your current job, because they get paid a lot of money to be fund managers. But if you're thinking, I just want more control, I want more investment options, a wrap super fund sits in the middle and gives you the control, and it also gives you a lot of the background nature of a master trust, where you don't have to worry about whether your super fund is compliant or not on the weekends. They're the three structures. And if you're wondering throughout this video why I'm saying wrap super or master trust or SMSF, because think of that as the foundation of your house. Who your super provider is just the kitchen and the sink and all that. It's relevant. What's really important is the foundation of the house, and they're the three structures that you need to consider. I hope this video helped. There's a link here that goes through Wrap Super Fund a bit more. So if you want to find out a bit more about what it's all about, as in terms of the structure, then click this link, and it's a pretty good explanation. Hey guys, if you're enjoying these videos, please like, subscribe, and click the bell button, as we are dropping a video like this every other day on YouTube. And if you got a question, please leave a comment, and I'll do my best to get to it.